Hey, so thanks, Andrea. So our first speaker tonight, Aaron, he's a senior talent acquisition consultant. He's in the fintech industry. Really great guy. I've known him for a few years. He's got about 5 years of experience in the industry. He's really helpful. He's uh, he kind of gears towards the younger clientele. He helps new grads find the careers that are going to be most suitable for them out of the gate. I love the line where they say that he's your dating consultant or matchmaker. He'll find the right company and the perfect match. That's awesome. For those that are in the Southern Ontario area, he is a diehard Maple Leafs fan, such as myself. He's really energetic. I'm not sure if his energy is going to be as up for this current year. We'll let him kind of decide that. I know he's kind of disengaged on the blue and white, but maybe this year, Aaron, who knows, right? Other than working, with the fintech industry and being a recruitment consultant, he also finds time to help folks on LinkedIn workshops, and such as this one that we're going to be in today, to help out folks like yourself to get better acclimated to the new digital way of finding work. So with that, and any further ado, I'll give it to Aaron. Take it away, Aaron.
Perfect. First thing I want to start off is, can everyone hear me? I'd like to do like a quick sound check before I kind of continue. I don't know if I can get a thumbs up from someone.
Yep, I can hear you.
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much. So my name is Aaron Pacheco, and I just want to tell you a little bit about me, and then I'll kind of continue. So my name is Aaron, and I'm a senior recruitment consultant, and know how to write. I'm actually just over the 5-year mark when it comes to overall experience in recruitment. Now, I do have some years in training and onboarding and employee development as well. So I have quite the extensive HR experience, but my bread and butter is definitely recruitment. So I started off actually my career at RBC. I was a consultant there for our insurance industry. So the portfolio I managed was anything under the insurance umbrella across Canada. This includes our insurance advisors, which is under sales. It would include any sort of, data scientists, anything under the umbrella that falls under insurance, I would be recruiting for it. So part of my role is I do the postings. So when you go on the career sites or even see jobs on LinkedIn, Indeed, I do the postings. I work with the hiring managers to design the posting based on the job description and try to attract the best talent that way. So part of that, and then if you apply to a job, it actually comes to my inbox. And part of that process is beginning to end. So it includes phone interviews. We have some assessments depending on the role. Not all jobs require assessments. And then if you are selected for kind of the third step, it could be a 1 or 2 interview with the hiring manager. Part of my job is also to provide that the consulting piece where I advise the hiring manager what to look for, what do I find in the best candidate. And obviously, there's a lot of things in our role that we find certain flags, I guess, certain reasons why not, or to hire someone outside their experience. Currently, I'm actually at Scotiabank. I've only been there for about 4 months today. So today, I just realized about half hour ago that it was my 4-month anniversary. And I actually support the wealth management group. So part of some of the jobs I do are private banker. So private bankers, so that manage our high net worth and ultra high net worth clients. Anything under that, sales support officers, client experience leads, team managers, anything under the wealth management portfolio I manage. So I'm still learning that portfolio just because I've only been there for 4 months, but overall the process is very similar. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit what I do and kind of help you kind of get that dream job, I guess. You can do next slide. Thank you so much. Your resume. So a lot of people tend to think that when they do their resume, they need to put keywords in there. So a robot or a computer can pick up exactly what your resume says, and that's how you're going to get the job. I don't know. I know with this world of technology, I'm not sure if there's recruitment consultants or that out there that use this artificial, intelligence. But I actually look through each resume. But the sad part is, on average, I probably look at each resume for anywhere from 15 to 30 seconds. So your resume has to catch my eye in 15 to 30 seconds. I don't have the time to read each resume for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. I would be there all day. So a couple tips, but you don't have to use sort of keywords when you're applying for roles. Just make sure your resume is clear. I've had a lot of good candidates, unfortunately, their resume is a mess where it doesn't show right away, I've done this at this company or this skill. It just becomes one big paragraph, and it's hard to determine what skills you have, even though you probably might be the best candidate for the job. So just make sure it's clear. You worked at this company from this date to this date. Make sure you indicate the month. I've had candidates put like 2020 to 2021, no months, and then I find out that they were from December 2020 to January 2021. So they weren't even there a month, but it looks like a year. So nice try, I guess. But no, make sure you put the month. Sort of, and you see that, you kind of think already flag, especially when it's like a year. I think it's okay if you were there for 5-10 years and you want to put the year, then yes, it makes sense. Like, you're there for 10 years, like, we get it. So just make sure it's clear. Make sure it's clear on what day and month you were there, and highlight your accomplishments. I've had people, put that they do something, for example, and then they were promoted after 6 months into a senior, whatever the role was, but they don't necessarily put it, and they kind of just put like, it's the same job. But me seeing you're progressing after 6 months into a new role, like, for example, I'll use a data scientist. If you're a data scientist and then you're a senior data scientist after 6 months, you obviously excelled at your role right away. So I do like that. You look like a high performer. Some people tend to just put the title, and this is what I've done for 5 years. If you have increments in that where it looks progression, that's a great thing to put on. Again, just make sure it's clear. Those are kind of the overall tips. 15 to 30 seconds, you really got to catch someone's eye. I would put your most recent at the top. I do have people tend to put older experience at the top. Remember, 15, 30 seconds, I might not even see that second page. So I'm not saying don't put it, but make sure the top is where it matters, and maybe a little blurb on your accomplishments if you've won any awards, for example. If you have any sort of designations that is relevant to what you're applying for, if you have some sort of schooling that would really help you get the role, make sure it's visible there on your resume. You can go ahead, sorry. Now, this is sort of a 2020/21/2022 thing where people are doing virtual interviews, even if the role is not fully virtual from home. Managers are tending to do virtual interviews for safety and just being able to adapt. The problem is with this, which I don't like, it's something a candidate might be great. It's just, this is new to them basically. And it might hinder them getting the job. And I'm kind of one of them. I am not the best at technology. I think I do my job great. Am I perfect? No, no one is. But I feel that people need to really learn how to do a virtual interview, because there's certain things that people do that they don't realize they're doing because they're being done virtually. There's certain things like posture and body language, which I'll talk about. I have people, they do it from like a couch. And what happens is you kind of tend to forget where you're sitting. And couches you tend to lounge, and then your posture is not good, and you really lack the confidence. So I always advise people to sit on something that makes your back straight. Now, if you're like, I don't have a desk chair, and that's okay. Maybe just a stool. Anything doesn't allow you to kind of lounge. Things like that, you wouldn't really have that issue if you were having a face-to-face interview in person, because you go to the workplace and they're not going to hand you a couch. I don't know, maybe some employers have that, but we don't have those at ours. But these are the things when you are doing an interview from home. The body language and posture people tend to forget, especially when they're on camera. So that's one thing. Connection, unfortunately, sometimes you can't control this. Just maybe test it out prior to your interview. Don't just, if your interview's at 5 o'clock, maybe don't just try at 5 o'clock. Make sure your connection's working about half hour or an hour before. That way you're prepared for any sort of connection, or if you have to be, adapt quick or be creative with your connection, you just make sure before the time of your interview. And lighting, there's certain tricks with lighting, and even I'm still learning, obviously, but there's certain things where if there's like a window behind you, you tends to kind of blur out your image. Things like this, you don't go to a face-to-face interview and you sit there and go, oh, the lighting is blocking. It doesn't happen in person, right? So certain things like this, it's good to kind of pay attention to your lighting. Pick a good, nice, bright room. Remember, there's no rules around the room. I mean, if it's a blank wall behind you, no one's really gonna know if you're in a washroom. If that's your best lighting, go for it. Just don't flush the toilet halfway through. But other than that, whatever works for you as far as lighting, posture. The toilet seat might be a great chair to use if you have the lighting in there as well. So these are little things that you can do. Just be creative around it, I would say. Now, oh, sorry, next slide, I apologize. So networking, just to kind of touch on the virtual world, networking is very tough, I think, because we're all kind of trying to stay away from each other for the last 2 years. It has been a challenge where people say, they look at my resume, for example, and they don't know, they don't know how good I am, or they don't know how good of a person I am, or how professional I am, because they don't know. So there's certain ways you have to be creative with networking, and doing something like this is great, just getting involved. And I know with person, what you can do is get involved in online or virtual job fairs or networking events. That's probably really, probably the most effective way. The good thing is you can do in your own comfort of your own home. If you have a busy day at work, you don't have to worry about commuting from one part of the city to another. I don't know if we're all in Toronto, but we had quite the snowstorm on Monday. And what happens is that was a virtual, if you had an event, you still probably could attend versus not able to go because there's 50 centimeters of snow. So there's some benefits to it. You just got to make sure you're getting involved. I think LinkedIn is a great place to look. And we kind of talk about that afterwards, but there's lots of places that you can network. Social media is huge, even Instagram, there's probably some networking events on there. People in a professional network, I always like to separate, I would say not fully separate, but your friends, family, and then your professional network and your friends. Get to know real professionals. I'm not saying your friends aren't professionals, but someone where you really can meet up and have like a professional conversation, learn about maybe the industry. It's good to expand on a network that people are in different industries, because if you all are, let's say for example, HR, that's awesome, but you're not really going to know what else is out there. And one person may know another person, and that might, if you're ever looking for a new job or a new career, changing your industry, that might be your connection, just knowing that person in your professional network. This one might be obvious, be likable. No matter what job it is, it could be a job in HR where you're really people-oriented, and it could be a job like an accountant where you're kind of on your own doing. If you're not likable, people don't want to work with you, and then you're not going. No matter how good you are, they're not going to hire you. You have to be a likable person. You spend more time with your colleagues versus your friends and family. Be likable, just be friendly, and that's kind of one of the things. I know not everyone's personality is, perfect, I guess, but find your way of being likable. I think that's one of the key things. And just want to talk about returning the favor. What I mean is, if someone, sometimes you really got to look out for each other, especially your professional network. Getting someone a job doesn't mean, if someone gets you a job, doesn't mean you necessarily have to get them a job afterwards, but maybe introduce them to another professional, or if you were able to return the favor, getting them a job later on, that might work as well. Just make sure you guys help each other in your network. People love helping each other. It's kind of what we do, and it makes you feel good. So for me, if I get someone a job, I know it's easy to say, come from HR. It makes me feel good. I don't want anything in return. And as long as you're the best fit for the job, I think that's all that matters. It makes my day when I get someone an opportunity that they're happy with. So I just hope I don't give them the job that they actually hate. I think that would really make unfortunate, right? So I think that's kind of the big thing with networking. Just get your name out there, be likable, and just get involved.
All right. Thank you, Aaron. That was a really great introduction, and that gave us some really good tips. I have a ton of questions, but we're going to wait till after Halima also gives us her presentation. And I have the distinct honor of introducing to you one of my favorite recruiters I've ever worked with. We both work at Sun Life, by the way. Halima, basically, just to give you a little crazy story, in 2021, I was a hiring manager. And Halima was just working magic with my recruits. And I'm like, you know what? This girl has something. And when she gave me her introduction, I'm like, no wonder. So Halima is a talent acquisition consultant at Sun Life. She made that distinction to say, you know what, I want to help people. I want to reach out to them. I want to find, their perfect careers by moving from her previous job in administration over into the human resources arena. And one thing I can truly say is that it really takes a lot of passion to be in HR, because she definitely has the human in HR. A lot of people don't have it anymore. She has a passion for helping newcomers, find their love, find their career, find their path here in Canada, because she herself moved to Canada in 2019. Imagine moving your entire family over right before, no, that's actually during the pandemic, right? Yeah, during the pandemic. Crazy, but she's brave enough to do it. She comes from Saudi Arabia. She had to find coats that were warm enough so she doesn't freeze, the whole thing. So she understands the struggles, guys. She knows exactly where you're coming from and what you're talking about. But mostly, I feel that in my interactions with her, it's all about the right fit with the right people. And even if you're not perfect, she's like, what are the gems that are within this person that will now make them a fit here at Sun Life? And I think is a very rare quality that a person should have. And this is probably the first time she's ever hearing me say that, but but I think it's something that more recruiters need to have, and that's how you make those right connections. So I'm now going to pass it over to her, and she's going to go ahead and share her screen and give us some tips about LinkedIn.
You made me blush. I have no idea how I'm going to present right now. This is too much. Thank you so much for the very, very nice introduction. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming and joining us today in Agile GTA. We're very excited to have you with us. So as Andrea mentioned, I am a newcomer. I came to Canada in 2019. And it was just a whole completely different working market. I needed to understand how it worked. And then I needed to also compete against people who have actually been there for years. Where the passion that Andrea is talking about actually came from being scammed when we landed in Canada. We were one of those people who were like, hey, we have this job, you can just work from home and you can just, you'll get $2,000 a month, and you're there, you don't have a job, you need to pay bills. And fortunately, we looked it up and we knew it was a scam, but we were this close to losing a lot of money. And this is where I was like, I need to voice out there to newcomers or even to students usually, because these are the categories of people who are the most targeted, that this is not how things should work. It shouldn't be this hard to get a job. And then also we paid people to write us resumes, to help us with our LinkedIn profiles. And it doesn't really require you to pay a dime for you to get a nice resume or a nice profile. As Aaron was mentioning, the most important thing is for us to see that you have have relevant experience. So for example, for us, we do have an AI tool that actually scans the resume. So the more you adapt your actual resume to the job posting that you see for the job that you're applying for, the more likely the recruiter, the hiring manager is going to be interested in talking to you. Also, you need to have your resume very concise. You don't have to have 6 pages. We are all proud of our experiences, of what we've done in our careers, but you don't have to put it laid out in 6 pages. You need to go straight to the point, straight to the experiences that are relevant to what we are looking for, in order for you to get that chance and be in that room with that recruiter or the hiring manager. Also, you need to, more than ever, know how to sell yourself. So it's not just about you having the experience, but also for you to be able to talk about what you've accomplished. For example, we kind of stopped doing, hey, from this year to this year, I worked for this company and these were my responsibilities. There was one tip that I used when I joined Sun Life, or when I moved to Canada, which is when somebody asks you to introduce yourself, try to answer the question of what is your passion? What do you love to do? And this is what I do. So for example, I say, hey, I'm passionate about talent acquisition. I love figuring out and finding positions to great talents out there. And these are what I'm the most what I'm good at. For example, if it's technology, I list my technologies. If it's software development, for example, I list my languages. But you need to talk about your career as if you were telling a story. It's no longer about this. You need to make sure to get my attention and keep it that way for the duration of what we're talking about. So that's why you really, really need to sell yourself when you're introducing yourself to the hiring manager or to the recruiter. There are some people during this the Kahoot exercise where they're saying maybe the interview did not work out. So you need, and this is something that I learned too, there is something called the STAR method of answering questions. So STAR stands for situation. So you describe the situation, for example, when you're talking about something. For example, I was working in a project. These were my T for tasks, these are my tasks. Action, these are the action that I've taken, and the R is for result, and these are for results. When you follow the STAR method, you are focused in what you're saying. You're not mumbling and just saying things, and I'm not following you, and I'm not really understanding what you're saying. And also try to always keep your job description or your job posting under your eye so that you know what they're looking for, and you mention, hey, I noticed that this is what you're looking for. We're actually, I did a project related to this, and this is what I've done. So these are kind of the things that you should always keep in mind whenever you're doing an interview, introducing yourself, seeking a job. And then to transition into LinkedIn, one of the most powerful tools that we use as recruiters is LinkedIn. So we use it to source people. So number one, so it's really the social media platform that we use to source candidates. We do have something called LinkedIn Recruiter. Why is it important to have your keywords, your skills, your LinkedIn profile up to date? It's because it helps us get to see the match between what we're looking for and what you have to provide quicker. And the quicker we get there, the most likely we'll be able to connect with you and say, hey, I have an opportunity. Are you interested? So it really also helps you build a network within the people from your own industry, from your own profession. You connect with people, and then you see what they're doing. Maybe they're sharing about a position that's open within their company. And you say, hey, can I apply? Can you refer me to this job? This is my skills. And also it keeps you updated about current trends, either, for example, if there is a new technology, if companies are moving from an old software maybe to a new one that's trending. It's always nice topics to get to be familiar with. And to move on to your actual profile. So what is it that you actually need to have? So first of all, most people said we know that we need to have a professional picture. So just a professional picture, avoid, and again, there's a lot of people who is gonna say, hey, you can pay me $50, I take your picture for LinkedIn and for your resume, professional. You don't need that, just a nice smile, nice lighting, and that's it. You don't need anything else than that. And then just, again, put your title. You need to always have a concise summary that, again, you can just say, hey, just remember about what you're passionate about. So you can link your passion, your work, and this is what I do. And you just write a nice, concise the summary of your experience. And then when it comes to your actual work, you just list the titles, the companies. And then if, for example, there was a big achievement that you've done at current position, something that you're proud of, you can always list it there. But remember that LinkedIn is not your resume. So it still needs to be concise. It still needs to be visible, professional, clean, so that it's easier for us to see, do you really match what I'm looking for or not? And the most important thing, again, is going to be technical skills to be listed. Because for us, in order to, so the title is good, the name is good, but I want us actually see what you know, what you do. So if for example, for software development, you can list the languages you use. If, for example, a specific software, anything, sorry, I talk about a lot about software just because I specialize in digital, so anything IT. But these are kind of the things that really need to stand out within your profile that I can see and look at and say, hey, maybe this guy would work. I'm gonna reach out to him and see if he's available. And then, so connect, and network. So most of the opportunities that you can, whenever you have a ready profile, what I did personally, and it was something that was advised to me, is that I would go and connect with people with similar jobs and say, hey, I just moved, for example, for myself, I just moved to Canada. I'm really interested in your company, or I'm really interested, I do a similar job to what you're doing. I'm very interested to just have a coffee chat with you and discuss about the job and just to get to know what you do exactly on a day in, a day out. And this is how you start and build your network. And you would be surprised, there are a lot of people like me out there who would just spare 5-10 minutes and have a coffee chat with you, and you can talk to them and discuss with them, and they will give you a lot of details about what they do. And then it even might open a door for you to actually join that company, because more often than not, we do hire people from mouth to ear, and it's like, hey, I learned, I'm sorry, there's somebody who's not on mute and I can hear myself. Thank you. So, and a lot of times it's like, oh, you know what? Actually, we have an opening for this position. If you're interested, I can refer you. And this is how it goes. Or for example, they're the first people who would know if there is a need within their team, especially if you're connecting with people who are within the same industry. They say, hey, I know that we're looking for, we didn't post the job yet, but we're looking for this type of role. If you're interested, I can talk to my manager. And this is how they can set up a meeting, they do the interview, and they will create the position for you. And these are things that actually happen out there. So that's why your LinkedIn is important. It's important to have it updated. It's important to connect with people and network and just be out there. And then, oh, sorry, where is the other one? Yeah, so again, going back to why is LinkedIn Recruiter, and to link it to what I was talking about initially. So we have a tool that's called LinkedIn Recruiter. So with LinkedIn Recruiter, whenever we are looking for profiles, we go in there and actually it helps us look for profiles. And the way we look for profiles, for example, if I'm looking for an analyst for wealth management, I would go in and type analyst wealth management. And then, for example, I would add a specific tool that I need, that my company uses. So if you don't have your skills updated on your LinkedIn profile, if you're not concise, if things are not clear on your profile, I will never get there. I will never, your profile will never pop up in my search, just because you didn't pay much attention to your profile. So this is very, very important. And then usually, as Aaron mentioned, we have so much to go through. We don't really spend that much time on resumes on LinkedIn profile. So that's why the more concise it is, the more structured it is, the more straight to the point it is, the more important it is, because it will just save us time and say, okay, so he has this is exactly what I'm looking for. Let's go. I'm going to reach out to him. So it's very, very important for you to just go straight to the point. And also, it's not moving. Okay. So also leverage other groups. So there is not just LinkedIn. Like, for example, for myself, I had a lot of help from Access Employment when I moved to Canada, who helped me adapt to the Canadian market. There are right now Slack groups, meetup groups for software development, for Agile, for a lot of different specialties where you can connect with people. They actually, just like Agile GTA, for example, hold this type of meetings, and you can talk and discuss. And from there, you might hear of an opportunity that's present, that's out there, and you say, hey, can I apply? And that person can actually refer you to it. So we also have BTPN, obviously. We have Reddit. Reddit is also right now very trending when it comes to sourcing, because you'll have people talking about topics, again, back to software development. And then you might even, you'll have recruiters out there say, hey, my company is looking for developers. Are you interested? Reach us. This is the link. This is how you apply. And so these are all opportunities for you to see what's out there and to actually connect with professionals within your industry, within your line of work, and you can talk to them and create an opportunity for you. So I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for listening to me. Andrea, back to you.
All right, so that was a quick run through of some of our tips and tricks for LinkedIn. Prior to that, Erin gave us some tips about interviewing and resumes and so on and so forth. I'm gonna open up the floor for you guys because it's all for you. I want you guys to drive the conversation. Let's start with some Q&A. You can do Q&A if you come off of mute. If you're not shy, I'm going to ask you guys to be courageous. It is one of the Scrum values, be courageous. Or if you feel like you need to, because maybe the kids are running around or whatever, feel free to also put your question in chat. I'm going to kick off the first question that I see in chat. That's from Simon. He's like, people recruit from Reddit? So is that really happening? And then how do you not know it's a scam or something? Like
Well, you gotta take a chance, right? And then just investigate and really see if it was a scam or not. Well, for example, I am on Reddit. There are groups specific for jobs where employers can actually post the openings that they have and just for them to advertise for the actual position. But then when you go to apply, you would go to the actual website of the company, you look for that position and you apply through there. And yes, it's something that's trending right now, and I personally use it.
Cool. I just need another app now. Okay. Awesome. Go ahead, guys. Who wants to ask a question? I have a million in my mind. I know Cola does, but like I said, I want to hand it over to our guests tonight. Don't be shy.
So what question you're trying to ask?
No, I'm asking you guys, what questions do you have? Now's your time to say, you know what? I put this on my resume. Is this the right thing to do? Or my LinkedIn needs help. How do I resuscitate it? Like whatever you guys want to know.
I just want to say is that I heard about LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a new, it's kind of like a new site, to network with the other employers based on the, with relevant experience, you just want to sell. I'm not familiar with LinkedIn, so because I don't have like, any connections, to associate it for my job search. I just want to ask one simple question about LinkedIn. Do you think LinkedIn is optional, to be used for job search? Especially, I don't have any social connections from the past.
So it's the number one tool to act. It's the number one professional social media platform out there. So if you're looking to know about opportunities that are open right now, we see a lot of hiring managers who directly advertise of positions that are available within their teams. You don't have to know people. It's not like, it's not something where you need to know the person before connecting with them. So if, for example, I don't know, you're a project manager, you really, really like Scotiabank, let's say, over Sun Life, and you go to Scotiabank and then you see who is the project manager in there and just connect with them. And it's going to be part of your professional network. It doesn't mean that you know them or you have to know them. It's just a matter of you broadening your network for you to be aware and the first to know if an opportunity is open. If you want to exchange professionally with other people, it is a great platform. And I encourage you to create an account there.
Oh, I didn't. Well, I didn't have a LinkedIn. I'm not familiar with LinkedIn. But now I know what to expect when I create a LinkedIn account, for my job search. So thank you. And how long does it take to create a LinkedIn profile?
It's very quick. So it's just a matter of uploading a nice picture, writing about your experiences, and that's it. You can create it. It's absolutely free. You don't need to get the gold version of it. You just use the standard version. It's enough. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah. So just to help you with that, when you're signing up for LinkedIn, it'll walk you through the steps. So you don't have to feel like, oh, what do I put here? Or did I put my picture? When you sign up for LinkedIn, it'll say, now's the time to put your picture. Now's the time to, so it will walk you through the steps to make sure that you are setting yourself up for success.
Okay. So do I have to copy like those point form, my work experience point form, and my relevant skills and qualifications point form for my resume to LinkedIn?
So as I mentioned, like your LinkedIn profile is not your resume, so it's better to keep it concise and straight to the point. So just the title, the company, and then the duration, how long you spend there. And again, you go back to the skills. There are actually sections for the skills, for the experience, for the summary. So as Andrea mentioned, you just go through it, and you just input your information, and that's it.
All right, thank you. That's all I just want to know. Thank you very much.
Sure, cool. No problem. So Stephen, if I can just give you one piece of advice, for anyone that's starting new on LinkedIn, this is the advice that I give them because I tend to mentor a lot of people and they're always like, how do I do this? When you're first starting out, you want to aim for what Halima and Aaron said about, putting your deep skills, putting the information that you need there. But if you just want to just create a profile, let me just get online and then take your time and go back through it. There's no harm in copying and pasting from your resume just so you can set up the profile. And then you go back and say, okay, let me edit this section and edit this section. So just to create that presence online. And also don't be afraid of reaching out to strangers you don't know on LinkedIn. There are like someone just, try to connect with me and they're in India, they're looking to relocate and they have particular skills that our company offers. So I said, let me know when you're in Canada. I don't mind being a connection with you. I looked through their LinkedIn profile. They seem pretty solid. So once they land somewhere in one of our postal codes and they still want a job at Sun Life, if there's an opening, that's somebody I can refer. And I've never met them. I've never had a conversation. So, the door is open, right?
Thank you. Thank you.
Cool. All right. I just want to hit off some questions here. So I'll read off one question and then I'll take a question from the audience. If no one talks, then we'll go back to the chat. How's that sound? So the next one is, why do some recruiters ask you to sign a document waiver? Is it okay? Is it legal?
What kind of waiver?
Yeah, we need clarification on that. I don't ask anyone to sign any sort of waiver.
Yeah, me neither. That's why I was like, what kind of waiver? So you don't have to sign anything. Usually you apply through a platform. So you just upload your resume, you upload information of your experience. Letter of exclusivity. Oh, no. So you're talking maybe about agencies. So if an agency is representing you, with a client, then they want to make sure that you are not actually enrolled with another agency, just so that they will, if they place you, they get the fee and they don't have to dispute it or split the fee with another agency. It's a common practice amongst agencies. They don't all do it. But I would say, I don't know. What do you think, Aaron? I'm not sure. Like it doesn't really limit you in any way.
I've never worked for an agency. We've never hired from an agency. I've always been in in-house recruitment. So you actually know way more than I do about that. I know the agency. Yeah. So the agency wants their, basically, lack of a better word, their cut for finding the candidate, because they're most likely commission based or incentive based. So there might be something along those lines. We don't have that here.
So it's not something that's not common. It's okay. It's just a way of them saying that we are the only recruitment agency that has the right to represent you with clients. That's it. But then obviously you can still apply yourself through other companies' postings. Like for them, it's just a matter of them representing you within their clients.
Cool. So I'm gonna throw it over to live Q&A. Anyone brave enough or courageous enough to ask a live question?
Yes, me. Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Cool. First of all, thank you so much for this. Super helpful. So I'm currently working on redoing my CV. and I am having such a hard time basically describing the highlights, like the achievements, because like my role right now is project manager / scrum master, right? And the way how I see the highlights or the achievements are through my team, right? So my achievements are the achievements of the team, right? So I don't know how to describe that. And I don't know if you can provide some kind of example, because yes, I am
I
drawing
can
here.
probably give you a little bit of advice. Okay, so
Yeah,
I
I'm
too am
not
an
from the
agile
tech
coach, scrum
industry, so
master. So
yeah.
this is what I'm going to tell you. If you know the Scrum guide, Scrum 2020 guide, there are 3 functions that make up a Scrum team: Scrum Master, Product Owner, and Developer. So my question to you is, why are the achievements of the team not your achievements?
No, they
your
are.
product is the team, right?
Yeah, I know they are.
So you have to take on certain aspects of their achievements to be your achievements on your resume. I help to facilitate, I help to execute, I remove the roadblocks so the team can achieve X, Y, and Z.
So, but, okay, I get that, but sometimes the recruiters ask for specific metrics, like specific numbers, but it's really hard to have numbers in that situation, especially when you say, okay, I removed the blockers, but how many blockers, or what that means even.
So that means that you need to start creating what I like to call it my star journal. This is what I have. And I combine it when I do Agile maturity metrics surveys. So when I'm guiding the Agile maturity metrics, I usually do one in January. I'll do one again in June, and then I'll do one again in November to plan for the next year about how we're going to improve. And I look to see how my team is going to improve. I own those metrics. So A, that gives you numbers. B, your star journal throughout the year is going to talk about, well, how many impediments did you remove successfully? Again, those are numbers. Now, how you package that will be a little bit different within your resume. It's going to sound fancy, it's going to be whatever, but what it's conveying is that you are a leader, you're helping that project go along, you're the one that is guiding the principles and the values of that particular team. These are the things that I've put on my own resume that I have found that have worked for me. Now, if they're looking to say, how much money did you save or whatever? Well, is that really your role? And A, are they really looking for a Scrum Master? I would start questioning them.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you so much.
No worries. Asilima, Aaron, I don't know if you want to add anything else just in general, like what happens when you maybe can't quantify certain successes and you want to put that on your resume?
So again, like it depends again to the style of the recruiter, like, I believe it or not, some recruiters just care about your overall experience, how you can describe and sell yourself, how you can talk about your accomplishments and your successes, just so that it gets you to a point where you're going to meet with the hiring manager who actually does the same job as you. So he won't really ask you non-coherent questions sometimes. So like sometimes if a recruiter asks you a question, it doesn't mean that it makes sense most of the time. Some recruiters just don't really learn the position that they're working on, so they just ask questions that are not really relevant to you. What I would say is that try to, even if you cannot put a number on it, try to sell it the right way, try to talk about it the right way, so that it gets you into the room with the actual person who does the same job as you, and then you can talk the same language and he can really understand what you're doing.
I'll just add to that as well. I'm like the non-expert in Scrum Master, but it all depends on the role you're applying for. And I'll use an example. When I'm recruiting for sales roles, you got to be very careful because a lot of people do sales roles. So I'm more interested in what have you accomplished. Oh, I was top 5 salespeople in Canada. Yeah, that's phenomenal, because whenever it comes to a role that's, let's say, 100% commission, employers are more than happy to hire anyone, because if you don't perform, they don't have to worry about paying you, basically. So I'm more interested in your accomplishments. Not that I'm never interested in accomplishments in any other role, but like they said, that if you have a role like the one you're looking for, the recruiter might look at more experience. I need someone with 5 years experience in an agile environment versus, and don't get me wrong, accomplishments are important, but they might look a little bit of both. Versus if it's sales, I'm already looking for the accomplishments on the resume. I don't know if that helps answer the question.
Yeah, like sales, it makes sense because it's something that you can quantify.
Yeah.
So, and this is why I was telling you, like, Juan, sometimes not all questions that recruiters are going to ask are going to be 100% on the money and make sense to you. So that's why I just try to play your way until you get to the man who understands you, understand your experience. And again, try to be concise on describing your achievements and the way what you've done exactly.
Now, this is my opportunity to let everyone know that if you've joined this particular session, I'm going to be emailing out to you kind of like a little care package. It's a 19-page little care package of a summary of everything we talked about. But just like what Juan was asking, like, how do you describe those things that maybe you don't have numbers for? There's an actual slide in that package that speaks to that. So you'll be getting that today. Cool? All right,
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna go back to our question because, this question is very interesting because it actually happened to my mother this week, believe it or not. So recruiters ghosting candidates. What's up with that? What's going on? We don't know how to
Who
schedule
wants to
our
start?
Outlook.
Alima,
Like,
do you
what's
want to
up?
start or me?
I will start. So at Sun
Okay.
Life, we usually don't ghost people. So each company works a different way. If, for example, it depends also on the workload. Just remember that those recruiters have maybe 40 jobs open. If they don't get to you now, they might get to you within a week. Usually, personally, for us at Sun Life, if I do just a screen with you, and then, for example, I see that you don't really match the job, you will get a decline via email. But if you do actually go into an interview with the hiring manager, we feel that you have the right to understand why the hiring manager thought you're not suitable for the job. So usually we call the candidates, we explain to them exactly what didn't work. Was it the experience? Was it the skills? Was it a specific tool? Was it just that maybe somebody internally just applied and it's for easiest transition, they would rather hire an internal person than an external person. Not all recruiters ghost candidates, believe it or not. There are some of us who are good out there who do take the time to actually call the candidates and let them know what didn't work. Also, if, for example, sometimes you have that opportunity that you really say, okay, I really, really want this job, and you get a decline or you don't hear about the why you were not selected, feel free to reach out to the recruiter, connecting with them on LinkedIn, and maybe just shoot in a small message and say, hey, thank you so much for considering my application. I haven't heard back. Or, for example, can you tell me if I was not selected? I just want to know why and what is it that I need to improve so that next time the same opportunity shows up, I can always improve my skills and apply again. So not all recruiters are like that. I know it's very frustrating. We are candidates before being we are recruiters, so we do also get ghosted by other recruiters and companies. So this is why we try not to do the same. Aaron, if you have anything else to add.
Yeah, so no, everything you said was perfect. So how it works is it comes down to our workload. No, I don't ghost candidates, but the thing is, we do have technology that do make our lives easier. If I do a phone interview and I hit a certain button, and you know what, let's say you weren't the selected candidate, I will not send you a personal email just because I just don't have the capacity. But what happens is once I select something, it's supposed to send you like an automated email letting you know that you didn't get the role. It never works out perfectly, especially when it comes automated. Sometimes it's just the candidate wasn't dragged properly in the system, which is a human error, but again, workload. So yeah, I guess it is ghosted, but it's just because of the workload. To kind of touch on the ghosting of the recruiter, what happened was, I'm not going to age myself, but when I started applying for jobs, I have to print out a resume and physically go to a job location, hand my resume and talk to the manager. So the amount of applicants we used to get were very minimal. You can apply for over 100 jobs within like 20 seconds. I've called candidates to decline them and they don't even remember what job it was for, because it's basically like you're dating 2022, your Tinder, you swipe left and right and you can message. It's too easy. And what happens is it replicates us, because instead of getting 30 applicants for a job, I get 3,000, just because it's so easy to apply. And that causes a unfortunate problem, because if I only had 20 people to apply, I can definitely reach back out to 20 people. But if I got that many, unfortunately, you're just gonna have to check your status online. Especially like you said, if the hiring manager spoke to you, it's a different story. I don't know if this answers your question. It just became very easy to apply for jobs and very easy to decline, but yet there's going to be ghosting back and forth, unfortunately. We do our best. I don't intentionally ghost people. I'm sure it happens, and no one's perfect. So,
Cool.
Yeah, I just had a quick question. I wanted to circle back to Halima's answer. So Halima, when a recruiter says, we'll keep your resume on file for a period of time, is there truth in that? Or Aaron, if you guys want to, I know you both.
I do. I keep it. I keep it.
So to be completely transparent, it depends on, again, how good you are and how well you sold yourself. So if, for example, you are a candidate that really wow me, let's say, and unfortunately I had a slightly stronger candidate, I had somebody internal apply these. So for example, for my team, we have a group chat and say, hey, I have a silver medalist, meaning that this is the second best on my requisition on the job that was open. He's amazing. He went through all the rounds of interviews. We really wanted to hire him, but this is just why it doesn't mean that he's not good. It just means that we had somebody slightly better. If anybody has a similar job open, I highly recommend it. And then we pass your resume to other people on the team who might have a similar job open. Also, if within another team, for example, the same, let's say an Agile coach opens up, I will reach out to you and say, hey, I do have now another position. Are you still interested in joining Sun Life or not? And then from there, we'll just pick up the conversation where we left it off. But yes, we do have systems that really store our resumes. And then if, for example, we don't have the right candidate from the actual live applicants on that position, we can always go back there, do a quick search and see if we can actually find people who applied in the past, who've reached out in the past, who would be still interested, and give them a call. Not all the time, but it happens.
Yeah, I just want to touch on that. Yeah, Halima actually answered that perfectly. Remember, I just want to point out there that as recruiters, and Halima, I'm sure, we also have metrics. Our job is to fill the job.
Yeah.
So when someone goes, oh, I don't want the job anymore after being offered, it's not like we're like, oh, too bad. Like, we are hurt as much as declining. We need to fill the job. So if it's like she said, that if someone doesn't get it, but there was a runner up, as soon as we're hiring for that position again, I'm already digging back through that folder where all those resumes were, because my job, you know how good it looks on me, where like, don't even worry about posting. I already have your candidate. And they're like, how? And because I have a pipeline. So yes, I do keep it on file, but obviously it depends. Keeping people warm is tough too, because in the meantime, you may have got a job. It all depends. But no, to answer, short answer, yes, we do keep you on file.
And that's why also we encourage people to, for example, subscribe to the company's page. And then I would tell my candidates, hey, I might not be aware of everything that's going on in Sun Life, but please just keep monitoring the jobs that we have open. And once you see something, message me, because I can keep track, but you can, right? So you message me and then we'll take it from there, even though I might or might not remember. But if you message me, I'll definitely do something. Again, as Aaron mentioned it, if capacity allows it, when you have 40 jobs open at a time with requisitions where we have 30, 50, 60, 100 candidates applying, it's very difficult to keep track. But this is why it's crucial for you to know how to sell yourself, to make an impression, so that I remember you.
Speaking about systems, the second part of that previous question was, how do you get past the ATS system? So I'm going to kick this off a little bit first. So I know Sun Life uses a system similar to that, where they rate people. As a hiring manager, I don't believe in that rating. So you might get a hiring manager that will, you might get graded as a C or a D. And I'm going to look through your resume, because I realize sometimes I'm not going to find everything I'm looking for. And that's only because of experience. I'll see people that are rated as A's, and I'll look through the resume. I'm like, this guy has like only a drop of experience that I'm looking for. Then I'll go to the person that was rated as a C, and they have everything that I'm looking for. So I think the hiring manager plays a big role in those systems as well. I don't believe those systems totally kick you out of your resume being viewed, but there are organizations that use it and use it for those reasons. So now I'm going to hand it off to the experts.
I personally, so it's funny, and Halima mentioned that the big difference, I don't use any sort of that at all. The only time we have something similar, I guess, would be like if we're looking for bilingual, I'll use an example, French and English, and it's a must-have. I might have a disqualifier question because you could be the best person I ever spoke to, where I will allow you to move into my home because you're the best person I ever spoke to. But if you do not speak French, unfortunately, you're not right for the job. Just use an example. That's the only real artificial thing I use personally.
So yeah, coming from a company that uses AI, so there are two parts to that question. AI is supposed to be an artificial intelligence tool, but it's not always smart. So the first thing is how you need to pass those system barriers. So if, for example, you have too much tables in your resume, or for example, there are too much colors or too much going on in there, too much lines, too much tables, the system cannot really read your resume. So what happens is that either you won't even get through, or you will sit at the very bottom of the list of applicants. So I will never be able to get to you. What the system does, Andrea, is that it just scans the resume and it scans the job description.
Yep.
So an A would be the one with the most matching keywords between the posting and the job description, and the resume. So this is a smart applicant who actually took the time to adapt his resume to the actual posting. And that's why sometimes you see an A and say, yeah, maybe not. So when you meet them, this is why it's just a way of you to, again, getting into a room with a person of decision, but then it will be up to you to sell yourself. So working on your resume is really an opportunity for you to just be at the top of the applicants list and make sure that a recruiter is actually spending 30 seconds and looking through your resume and say, okay, I have Java, he has Java. I have Ansible, he has Ansible. I have Agile, he has Agile. Okay, I'm gonna send the resume to the hiring manager and see what he thinks. But then again, so this is the first door. The second door, and which is the most crucial, is for you to actually be able to talk about what you do and to be able to sell yourself, if that helps.
Cool. I'm going to ask one more question from the chat, and I'm going to kick it over to live. What would be the best advice for someone who's looking to switch to the tech industry with very little or no experience or extensive knowledge?
I'm just going to sit on mute here. I don't know anything.
You
guys are way more experts than knowing.
No worries.
So the least you would do is at least to have a certification, some like educational qualification for you to actually work within tech. What I love about my specialty, which is digital, is that it's more about the skills and softwares and different tools that you know and you have experience with versus, just having that gut feel. You talk to a person, you're like, there is that gut feel recruiter. Okay, he talks nice. I think he would fit. There are some roles, like I've worked a lot of agile coaches and scrum masters. It's very difficult because, again, it's all about how they sell themselves. But when it comes to technology, it's either you master the actual technology or not. So it's very cutthroat. So this is why if you want to switch to technology, the least you can start with would be an actual educational degree certification, whatever you can do. And then from there, start applying. There are a lot of entry-level jobs where we do take people who are fresh out of college and actually train them and have them grow. So for example, for Sun Life, I think we run this twice a year with Justin, Andrea. So we have a position called Innovation Web Developer. So we get a condition is for them to be actually fresh graduates, and we train them for between, I think, 8 to 10 to 12 months. They would be part of some groups and some teams. So they help them improving their development skills, their presentation skills. After that period ends, they will assign them to a specific team. So these are opportunities that are available. I have some hiring managers and say, hey, as long as they have a co-op experience, I will take them. They know technology. They know, for example, change management processes, just some basic processes to work. I will train them on the rest. So going back, I know I sound like a broken record, but it's more going back to selling yourself. If you don't have experience, fresh graduate, just make sure to talk about the co-ops that you've done, any GitHub that you have that you can share with us to show us what you've actually been working on, to show us that passion. We say, hey, I'm going to invest in him and help him grow his skills, and I know he's going to go a long way within my company.
Well, just to add a little bit more to that, I guess I can reveal a little bit about my personal story. So I used to be in HR, and I wanted to work in tech. I had a natural inclination for it. I'm like, the projects in tech are the ones that are getting noticed. I want to do project management in tech. I'm tired of doing project management in HR. So I literally started having lunch with the tech team. Hey guys, what's up? And I got them to start talking to me. I got to start to understand the lingo. They told me, start telling me about classes or courses I should take. Then eventually, I got onto those types of projects. The same thing happened to me when I decided to transition from being a traditional project manager in HR to moving over to the Agile world. I got the certification, but I'm like, okay, I have no experience. Who's going to hire me? I started going out there and saying, okay, can I at least shadow you? Can I do this? Can I do that? I started joining Agile groups. I even got to the point where I connected myself with a group that was training people how to be Scrum Masters. And literally, I'd be like, okay, I'm willing to set up the room for you. I'm willing to do this. I'm willing to do that, just so I can be around the people that were talking and thinking, getting to understand those things. I even went as far as to even volunteer in my church. I was on a team that did nothing but like event management and project planning and all these kind of things. And I was able to utilize those skills that I learned in that safe environment because it was totally volunteer. And then I was able to actually use that as experience. So when I'm talking to recruiters, when I'm talking to hiring managers, I'm speaking about that previous experience that I had to showcase the fact that I have this many years of experience, or I understand what you're talking about, or this is how I resolve the issue using this particular methodology. So there's very many different ways that you can gain that experience if you're finding that you're hitting roadblock after roadblock when you're applying. And the more you add to that resume, you're going to find the door is going to open.
Hey, I just wanted to jump in there. I have a resource that I can personally testify to of a volunteer site where they mainly set up projects and look for people who want to volunteer on those projects, and then use whatever experience they gain volunteering on whatever projects they're working on as their job experience. I'm gonna post a link in the chat. Just you can go through the link, check it out, see if it works for you. But this is what they specialize in. They have so many different projects. You can join one as a volunteer, or you can just learn from whoever is already on one, and then get that experience as a project manager stroke scrum master. I feel now that I'm in the role, I feel a lot more confident walking into any interview or having discussions about what it is I do, because there's an understanding that you can't just fake. Um, and experience, no one can define your experience. It's only how valuable your experience to whoever it is that's trying to employ you is the most important thing, essentially. Like, how can I make my experience valuable to whoever's, for example, someone like Halima, she's looking for a Scrum Master role. How can I talk to her or Aaron such that they see whatever it is that they're looking for in me? And then you can get experience from anything, literally. It's how you sell yourself that works. Yep.
Cool. Thanks, Kola. So now I'm going to kick it over to our live audience. Anyone brave enough, courageous enough to ask another question? People are silent. I always say silence is golden. So I'm going to move over to the next question in the chat. And this is going to might seem a little bit wayward, but obviously you've made an impression because they're asking, how can I be a recruiter?
So
You sure about that?
exactly. Funny story. I used to do administration, right, for a very, very, very long time. And I was actually talking to a recruiter about an EA job. And I actually asked him the question. I was like, hey, how can I did the certification in human resources. I've decided to make a change for myself. How can I land there? And he made it look so difficult. And he was like, I don't think so. And you need to have experience and you need to have this. So For me, I think the fact that I am bilingual kind of opened that door for me, because there are not that many bilingual recruiters on the market. There was this agency who actually took a chance on me and then said, if you are bilingual, we will teach you how to be a good recruiter. We'll teach you on the software systems. And then you will just have to do your magic and learn from there. And this is how I landed in talent acquisition. Again, like as Andrea and Kola mentioned, it's always about maybe finding free opportunities to kind of learn, shadow, get to know. Maybe you can shadow us and say, hey, you know what, that's not for me, that's too much stress. Especially when the end of the year comes and then we have those KPIs to fill. But you can always start with a certificate. There are so much certification online to do human resources. There are a lot of companies who maybe just work for a recruitment coordinator. So you just start as a coordinator, and then when you go to that company, you gain experience, and then from there make a transition into a recruiter. This is one way of looking at it. But it's, so you just have to have the right, I guess, mind to go through the stress of any job. But recruiters, maybe you have it a little bit harder. But yeah, you can start with, for example, coordinator, assistant in HR department, and then grow from there.
Cool. Aaron, anything to add?
I could start. I went to school for HR, and then I started off in the call center at RBC, and I am not bilingual, so bilingual is such a key skill set. So if you are, take full advantage of it. But that's okay. That's okay. I just accomplished it the hard way. No, I'm just joking. So basically, I was in the call center, and I just reached out to the HR department, and I said, "How can I help?" And they had me doing this thing for like days, where and I'm sure maybe other recruiters used it. It's like an assessment called a POP assessment. So basically, you do an assessment as a candidate to see if you would fit the potential of being a good candidate. Basically, it's an online assessment, and they had me just literally sending those out all day. And I was like, this is the worst job ever. But the thing is, I built relationships during that time with the other recruiters, and that's kind of how I started. And then I'm like, oh, can I see what else you do? And then I job shadow, and that just over time it just builds. And then eventually there was an opening as a recruitment consultant, and I proved myself. Most likely the agency is the best way to start, if you want my honest opinion, just because those are the hardest. You're basically, usually you're paid under a commission, and there's those big firms that you could basically call, you're basically making phone calls all day looking for people. And once you get good at that, you can, if you could still continue to do that, there's lots of incentives, like you can make a lot of money, and if you like that hustle and bustle, and then if you ever want to become an in-house, I guess the best way to say it, recruitment consultant, that's always a place to start. So I don't know if that helps.
Wonderful, wonderful. I have another question here about bias in the recruitment. This is pretty near and dear to my heart, because lately when I've been looking at resumes, I've been seeing people put Canadian or Canadian citizen, maybe because their names are not Canadian or anything of that nature. And I find that to be sad, that we even have to do that. So the question really is, we know that there's bias in the recruiting and hiring process. Is there anything the applicant can do to minimize this impact in their job search?
So if a company looks at that, it's not a company for you. You don't want to work for them. This will be my first advice to you. If a company is going to be biased against you because of your race, your religion, your sexual orientation, anything, you just don't want to work for them, because it's just a door to hell, basically. Most companies right now have diversity and inclusion metrics for their hires. So as talent acquisitions and recruiters, we do have our own KPIs when it comes to hiring a diverse workforce. So like it's not something, again, like you cannot mention your nationality, your age, you can put your picture. Your resume needs to be neutral, and it doesn't give any indication about who you are, because all that matters is that what you have done and what kind of skills you're bringing into the table. So again, if it's a company is biased against you for any reason, they're not good for you. And that's why it's very, very, very important for you to do your due diligence about the companies you're applying for. It's not just a job. You need to go to Glassdoor, read reviews about them, see what kind of culture they provide. And also, if you do get that screening call with the recruiter, actually ask them, what kind of culture do you have? What are your like diversity and inclusion metrics like? What are your diversity, your workforce, how diverse is it? These are all questions you can ask during your screening. It's up to you. And again, you need to do your due diligence. You need to investigate. Don't just work for anybody.
Yeah, I'm even disappointed that's even still a topic. Like that should not be an issue. Growing up in Toronto, how diverse it is. I don't know how even a recruiter, if there was one, I don't know any, but I'm glad I don't. That if they were to do that, I don't know how if they would be successful because how diverse Toronto is. So to be honest, yeah, no, I don't even. It's disappointing that even is a question still in 2022. We should be past this. So I don't know if that. I believe I answered perfectly. Like I don't know how else to add to that. That's not really good. So.
I'm gonna come off mute. It's Connie.
Oh,
I'm the
sure,
one who
sure.
posed the question. No, I'm just gonna share very quickly a short story of why this
Sure.
is, and unfortunately, to your point, Aaron, it's absolutely still an issue. And it will probably be an issue for
Yeah.
many, many years still to come because it's just reality. Our brains are wired that way. We tend to gravitate to those that we look like, sound like, etc. And it's a conscious decision to make a choice, to bring that inclusion in. So that's the thing. Like diversity is a fact, as you said, but inclusion is a choice. So that's what the challenge can be. But the reason I said is one time I was doing a job, a recruiter was helping me to do my to update my resume, my LinkedIn profile over the phone. We never met. I didn't have a picture up out on my LinkedIn profile at the time. And I deliberately did, and hopefully this doesn't offend anybody, but I made sure my resume and everything was white. I did not put on anything that would indicate in any form, like all my work that I did with, say, any organizations that were anything that would indicate something of that nature, I tried to remove from my resume because I know that as much as, again, we say it doesn't affect you, we know it does. And the person, the recruiter, we were talking at one point, she said, why don't you put a picture of yourself on the resume? I mean, on your LinkedIn profile. And I was like, no, I don't think so. And I'd just been talking about going to a family reunion in Jamaica. Now, there's a lot of Jamaica is very diverse, but the first thing people are going to think about is Black. And she came out and said, well, what do you have to worry about? You're a blonde woman, blah, blah, blah. And I said, and I just, I paused and I was about to get furious. But I said, you know what? Maybe this is a teaching moment. And I just paused and said, why would you think that? Because obviously my voice doesn't, your voice doesn't sound Canadian. Canadian. Andrew, you said, what's a white, not a white name, what's a Canadian name? And, who, even my first name isn't even Connie, really. But anyways, I just wanted to say that it's out there. It's just, you just heard what I said about my resume, my LinkedIn profile, but I do have a picture up there. So it doesn't really matter anymore. But I just wonder if there's something that applicants could do, like honestly, that could somehow reduce the bias that may come at you.
So
anyway.
I have a very similar story to Connie, and you shouldn't have to go through that, quite frankly. But I'm a born Canadian, born and raised in the T-Dot, the 6, whatever you want to call it, if you know Drake. Because if I say other words, you're like, I don't know those words for Toronto because I'm too old. But the name that you see in front of you is not my married name, but this is my name. Before the LinkedIns in the world, I knew for a fact I was getting interviews because of the way that I spoke, the way that I sounded, and what my name looked like. Until I walked into the room, and you can see their surprise. So I've decided to challenge them. I'm like, you know what? If you're not going to hire me, I'm definitely going to give you a run for your damn money. And there are some organizations where I can tell from the people's face that, if they're going to give me the job, I'm probably going to turn them down because I could see that bias was in them. Would I even be able to rise through the ranks? Did it hurt sometimes? Yes. But then as I grew up and as I got to know a little bit more about LinkedIn and all that kind of stuff, I don't hide my face. I don't hide my name. I still don't use my husband's last name because people just don't know how to pronounce it. But that's a whole different story. Um, but in the end of the day, what I've decided to do was to take out certain biases. For example, I make sure I never put my address on it, like not even close. I'll just put Toronto, Ontario, Brampton, Ontario, like that's it. Sometimes I just put Canada because I've seen candidates be like, what? That person lives in Falstaff? That's the ghetto. Like, especially if they know Toronto, right? Like, so you look for, that's how you can get past certain things, but I don't subscribe to that. Like, do you get what I mean? Like, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. You got to get
Absolutely.
to that recruiter and everything. But I don't subscribe to that. Like, this is me, and I'm of the same mindset as Aaron and Halima. Like, you know what? I don't want to work for you because even if you hire me, I'm probably gonna get stuck in that role for life.
Yep.
Is that really
No,
what I want?
I won't belabor this, but I know exactly what you're talking about. And it is, as Halima said and Aaron said, there's a lot of DEI going on out there. So it is helpful, and
Yeah.
just for people to be aware of it.
Yeah, with
Not be
the
surprised.
yeah, I'm very sorry that you both had to go through this. I can only imagine how, how painful it can be. And having a weird name myself, not everybody knows how to pronounce it. It's too long, it's too complex. I'm Muslim, I wear the veil, and I'm proud of it. These are my origins. If you don't want to hire me because of them, I'm sorry, I don't want to work for you, no matter how good the opportunity is.
Exactly.
Thank you. You guys did a great job too, by the way.
Awesome.
Thanks, Connie.
Thanks. So that was the only questions I had in the chat. I'm leaving it open to the floor. Anything you're wondering about. I know it's 8:34, so I want to do a quick time check. But now's your time to ask, guys. Like, what's your weakness? Like, how do you network online? I haven't heard anybody ask those kind of questions.
I have a question, and this is just
Oh,
personal.
cola. Let's go.
I always have questions, guys, but this is a simple one. And it relates to, I think, Daniel's question in the chat. A lot of people want to pivot to different industries, and from my experience coaching and advising people, they tend to look at certifications as a good segue into at least getting a recruiter to look their way, even if they don't have the right experience to match whatever it is that they're putting or applying for. Now, as a recruiter, do you give that opportunity to a prospective job seeker to at least have them come into an interview, even if they don't meet the requirements based on experience, but they've done the due diligence of going to do research on whatever it is that they're trying to apply for, and also, you know, successfully pass whatever certifications just to get them in that room? Is it, do you weigh the experience as the one true all, or do you still give the benefit of the doubt and have that meeting just based off of certifications?
So if I can start, Aaron, for me, I have a very holistic view to my candidates and my applicants. For example, a business system consultant or business system analyst is not a position that exists in other countries. Some people may have done parts of it, but they haven't had that exact function. So when I meet with them, and it was a case of somebody that I recently hired, I would look at their all-in-all experience and how adaptable it is to what I'm looking for. And we go back to that wow factor. If you know how to talk, if you know how to sell yourself, I can say and I've done it many times, I say to the hiring manager, hey, he doesn't have the exact experience, but I feel like he has a lot of potential and he would quickly make an excellent business system consultant. Or for example, he only has these two technical skills, but this tool he can learn and he has that drive to learn that thing and he can quickly become very good at what they do. So again, unfortunately, it comes down to each individual recruiter or talent acquisition who's actually talking to you. And this is where I want to say networking and asking for coffee chats is very important, because you're outside of like a specific role. So you can just talk in general and you can talk about your experience and what is it that you're looking to do. And this is how us as talent acquisition will make the link and say, hey, I had a coffee chat with this person. I've done it many times. I would message actual hiring managers and say, hey, I've met this person. He's really good. And I feel like he has a lot of potential. Can you give up 15 minutes of your calendar just to meet with him, talk to him, see what he's looking for, what he's about? And then maybe in the future, we'll have him, as Aaron mentioned, in our pipeline, in our pool. We can just reach out and say, hey, we actually have that opening now. Do you mind? Do you want to apply an interview? And this is how it goes. So even though you don't have all the experiences, personally, I'm no longer looking at your academic education. It's mostly your experience. What kind of personal development you've done? What did you do to learn a new technology that's out there? Especially now, DevOps is now becoming more and more that piece that gonna link the puzzle of development and business. And I would say, for example, oh, you know what? He done this on his own and he've learned this on his own. So he has that drive. He wants to evolve. We can give him a shot and he will really impress us. So you don't really have, I'm not like personally, again, I'm looking at the person, how well they talk, how they sell themselves, what kind of specific experience that I can adapt to whatever opportunity I have if I don't find that person who's 100% matching, if that answers your question.
Fantastic. It definitely does. You might seem like that one recruiter who really does take the time to figure out if whoever it is applying matches the role, but I've come across a lot of recruiters who I don't even think they fully understand the role they're applying for. And then you have conversations and you're like, wait, it doesn't sound like you guys need a scrum master.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it comes from having, understood what that role entails. And then there's that confidence of I've done it. So there's nothing that they can ask me that I can't answer. But then there's the unfortunate, I don't have the experience yet, but I'm going into the meeting with, oh, I know what a scrum master does. I'm trying to, get myself together so I can at least get that job. And there's that disconnect. But yeah, I do appreciate the answer.
And you can also always, like, if, for example, you're a little bit more advanced on your core skills, but the thing that you want to do, you don't have experience, you can apply for, less junior roles with that so that you can start from kind of scratch and then build from there to grow within that specific role industry that you're targeting.
Oh, yeah, I 100% agree. Someone took a chance on me too.
I just want to add something as well. Again, it depends on the role, but I have like a lot of roles that I don't even look at the experience at all. There's a lot of jobs that, okay, experience is great, but if someone has the credentials and is like, I've never done this before, so there's other skill sets that you'll have that I'll like more than someone, let's say, for example, that's been doing it for 10 years. One, we can mold you, we could teach you, and you're able to adapt so quick, and adapting and all that is very, it's just a skill that you have. It's not really related to any job. It's good for any job. But if you're in the 10 years, and I'm not saying 10 years you're not good, that's not true, but you might have maybe stuck in your ways and or things like that. So people, like, for example, new graduates are phenomenal. They know they're up to date. They know how to adapt. They're that part of that generation sometimes where they're very creative, and they could be, so again, it depends on the role. Sometimes at the senior levels, but like Halima said, if you start, on the junior roles and kind of build yourself up. But a lot of times, experience to me is you have the credential. I'm okay with that, for example.
I have a question. So how important are right now certifications as a PMP, ACP, CSM, all those things? Like, are we looking for, or like the recruiters are actively looking for those kind of certification, or is something that is just a nice to have?
So again, it goes back to the hiring manager. If the hiring manager says the PMP is a must to me, then if I don't see a PMP on your resume, to be honest, I'm going to skip it. There are some hiring managers who are more interested, because there are some hiring managers who actually told me a PMP is just a courses, they will go through it and get certified. I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for somebody who's actually walked the walk, done the talk, knows what he's doing, and then the certification is not that important. It would be a plus, it would be nice to have, but it doesn't have to be. So unless, for example, let's say for cybersecurity, there are specific certifications that are a must, for example, that would be extremely beneficial for you to have them. When it comes to your case for project management, there's some hiring managers who don't really care if you are Scrum Master certified or not. To be honest, I've had that in the past. As long as you've done the work, you know what it is, you get engaged through groups, you know, again, going back to how to sell yourself, how to talk when you get into that room with the hiring manager, that's all that matters. Andrea maybe can answer this better than I.
Yeah, so in the arenas that I've been in, it's never been a must-have. It's always a nice to have, whether I was applying or whether I was hiring. But what I will say is that there are different arenas. If I were to leave Sun Life, because that's where I currently work, and I go into and I decide I'm going to go into government, I need to have the certifications. This is government we're talking about. So when you're in like really strict arenas or highly visible legal or compliance atmospheres, you're going to need to have your certs, right? Now, the question is, especially if you're just starting out, maybe what you do is that you have some of the experience, get the job, make the money, get the cert, and then plan your career path, which is exactly what I did. When I first started out in Agile, I didn't have my cert. I got the job. I had a little bit of experience through my volunteer experience, and then when I made the real money, I could afford that cert. So that's exactly what happened. And you know, the rest is history. Because some of these certifications are not cheap, y'all.
Especially the one in question.
Yep. and always look about your next step. Like I just mentioned to you, like one of my dreams is to work in a certain level of government and run Agile in that atmosphere. But I also know I'm going to need security clearance and security checks. Some of these security clearance and security checks can take me 2 years to get. So I've already applied now, even though I don't know if they're going to have a job, but I'm making sure all my checks and balances are there because I'm banging down the door when I'm ready.
That's what it takes.
Cool.
Jackie, thank you.
You're welcome.
Fantastic question, by the way. I try to stay away from it as much as I could, but thank you for asking it on behalf of us.
No, that is a very common question because, again, you can have the experience, but sometimes in that first screening, the recruiters are looking for that, like especially like things like PMP. We don't use that anymore, but again, like it shows up in
exactly. It's like a universal badge to say, hey,
yeah,
I know what I'm doing.
I think people are just realizing that, you know, we're hiring these people with all these certifications and they're turning out to have zero or no experience, or they're not smart enough to catch up and do well. So I'd rather have the person with experience, and if I need to, I'll pay for their certification.
My own experience is I got the job at a junior level, went in, showed I could actually do the job, excelled at it, and then did my certification while I was in the job. And then my boss's boss was like, "Oh, that's good. Well, that it shows that you know what you're doing." I'm like, "It's just a PMP. It doesn't really, you know what I mean?" But it was a good. It became a leverage for me when it came to discussing next steps, or if I wanted to get a higher pay, or if I wanted to take on a different role. They've already seen my track record of, even without saying anything, being self-driven. So that's what it kind of shows as well. But it's a very tricky spot, because for you to get the opportunity, sometimes you need a certification. You know, so but then you get in and without it, and then you understand where you are, and then you get the certification, and then it holds more value. So there's never a straight shot. You can have all the certifications in the world and still not get the job because, like Halima said, that's just not what they're looking for. So
Yeah. And let's not forget that this is the human business. So we deal with humans, we deal with people. So it depends on, I don't want to be too idealistic or just say, hey, we are the best. This is what we do. There are always mistakes down the line. We don't hold the power always. And then it depends on the person, the hiring manager we're talking to. Some of them you might meet with somebody with COLA who has that experience, but he didn't have the PMP and he excelled at his job, and he sees something in you and says, you know what, I'm willing to bet on him. I'm going to hire him and see how he does. So it's not something, and we keep telling our hiring manager, I say that I don't manufacture candidate in my own plant and then just put the specifications and they run through out to you. So you need to be flexible. You need to prioritize what is the must-have to you and what would be a nice-have. And this is where we kind of try to level and put forward the right candidates. And sometimes you need to just say, you know what, maybe I'm not really good for it. Not because we declined you, so you are not good or your experience is not good. It's just that you're not a match with what we're looking for. So just don't get discouraged and don't hate us.